Good afternoon. Welcome to the Manchester Police Department. Thank you for attending today's press conference. To my right, I have the Attorney General for the state of New Hampshire, Gordon MacDonald. To his left, Senior Attorney General Benjamin Agati. To his left, the Honorable Mayor of Manchester, Joyce Craig. To her left, we have the Chief of Police for the City of Manchester, Carlo Capano, followed by the Assistant Chief of Police behind me to the right, Ryan Grant, followed by the Associate Special Agent in charge of the New England Field Division for the DEA, John Delina. Next to him is the Nashua Chief of Police, Andrew Lavoie, followed by the New Hampshire State Police Colonel Christopher Wagner and Hillsborough County Attorney Michael Conlon. We'll have the following speak about the events at the Quality Inn, which started last night around 7:30 p.m. First, I'm going to introduce the Attorney General for the state of New Hampshire, Gordon MacDonald. When he's done, he's going to introduce the Honorable Mayor of Manchester, Joyce Craig. Once the Honorable Mayor is complete with her statement, she is going to introduce the Chief of Police, Carlo Capano, followed by the Associate Special Agent in charge for the New England Field Division, John Delina. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Gordon MacDonald. General.
Good afternoon. We're here to provide further information on the officer-involved incident that took place beginning last evening at the Quality Inn on John Devine Drive here in Manchester. 3 people have died as a result of this incident. At approximately 7:30 p.m., members of the Manchester Police Department and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration went to the Quality Inn for a wanted check for Stephen Marshall, age 51, and another male. We're withholding this male's name at this time as he subsequently died, and notification of his next of kin is pending. At the same general time that the police approached the first floor room in the hotel where Stephen Marshall and the other male were staying, Mr. Marshall exited the room via a west-facing window. Once outside, Mr. Marshall engaged 2 U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agents and 1 Manchester police officer. Mr. Marshall had a silver semi-automatic handgun in his hand. An officer from the Manchester Police Department and an agent from the DEA both discharged their weapons. Mr. Marshall was struck by gunfire and was taken to the Elliott Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. 2 individuals remained in the first floor room, and over the course of more than 12 hours, Manchester police officers attempted to speak with these individuals and seek a peaceful resolution. Over the course of 9 hours, at least 1 individual from the first floor room fired multiple gunshots out of the room. Earlier today, members of the Nashua Police Department SWAT team arrived to assist Manchester police officers with this investigation. Shortly after 10 o'clock this morning, Nashua police officers were able to make entry into the first floor hotel room. Inside, they discovered 2 deceased individuals. The names of these individuals are being withheld pending notification of next of kin. The officer-involved incident is being investigated by New Hampshire State Police Major Crime Unit under the direction of my office. The crime scene at the Quality Inn is complex, and it is expected to take several days to complete processing. We are again asking anyone with information about this incident and anyone with information about Mr. Marshall's whereabouts over the past week to call Sergeant Matt Amatucci of the Major Crime Unit, 603-419-8291, 603-419-8291. This remains an active investigation. It is in its early stages, and as such, we are limited in the information that we can provide. We will be providing updates as soon as we are able to, including the names of the 2 individuals who died in the hotel room, as well as the officers involved in this incident. With that said, the resolution of this incident is the result of outstanding collaboration and cooperation among the agencies represented by the individuals behind me. With that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Craig.
Good afternoon. As Mayor of Manchester, I am incredibly proud of the Manchester Police Department. Their job to protect and serve often requires many difficult decisions to ensure the safety of our community and themselves. The diligence, patience, and professionalism they exhibit every day, and especially over the last 24 hours, is to be commended. I'm grateful no officers or bystanders were injured. I'd like to thank the DEA, the New Hampshire State Police, the Attorney General's Office, the Nashua Police Department, AMR, and the Manchester Fire Department for assisting in this effort. This event serves as a reminder of the occasional danger we face in this great city, and I appreciate the efforts of all first responders who work to keep us safe. My thoughts are with all of those who were affected by this situation. Thank you. And I'd now like to invite Chief Capano to the stand.
Good afternoon. First, I just want to start off and say how grateful I am today that no officers were hurt during this incident. The senseless, unwarranted attack, which is not only an attack on our law enforcement agency, but it's an attack on all law enforcement agencies across the country. I want to thank all the law enforcement agencies that reached out to us today at the Manchester Police Department. I truly appreciate that. Special thanks to the Attorney General's Office, the DEA, New Hampshire State Police, Nashua Police Department, Manchester Fire Department, and AMR. Your assistance and your support is truly appreciated. I also want to thank the community and the press for your patience and your support throughout this event. I certainly understand the inconveniences that it caused with road shutdowns and having you people show up at different times for press conferences and things of that nature. And events like this, that matters to us, that you have that type of patience for us. I also want to talk about how proud I am of the men and the women of the Manchester Police Department. The professionalism, the patience, and just the overall incredible work that they do day in and day out. Our SWAT officers today showed how truly professional and incredible that they are. Our officers were fired upon numerous times today over a 9-hour period. Our job isn't easy. It isn't easy at all. Each day we go out there and we put our bulletproof vests on, our uniforms, our gun belts, and we go out there to serve this community and to protect this community. It's disheartening that we have to face incidents like what we had to deal with today. When you think about over a 9-hour period of officers being shot at, as much as they were, and how amazing it is that none of our officers were shot, we're truly blessed that none of those officers were hurt today. And again, I just want to thank the men and women from State Police, Nashua, DEA. Without this, we really couldn't do the job that we do each and every day. I'd like to introduce Special Agent in Charge from the DEA, John Delano.
Thank you, Chief. I'll keep our statements pretty brief. And again, I echo the sentiments of the folks that spoke before me, that we're thankful that no law enforcement officers were hurt, and we appreciate everybody's collaborative effort. DEA does work aggressively with our state and local counterparts every single day when it comes to drug-related offenses, and you've seen that here in New Hampshire. Although we are not prepared at this time to explain the full nature of our investigation, as you know, we are the Drug Enforcement Administration, so it's obvious that there is a drug-related offense, which is why we're there. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the Attorney General.
Are you taking questions? How did the suspect exit? There's a broken window, which I assume is the room that they were barricaded in. Can you kind of explain? The window was broken out. Was it shot out? Was it blown out? How did that come to be? In other words, how did he exit and how did that exchange take place?
That window was broken out from the inside, and the individual came out of the window out into the street area.
So he broke the window and came out and the police were there?
I can say that the window was broken from the inside out, and he went at that point and then engaged with the officers that were there.
Did he fire shots at the officers?
That's information that we're still trying to put together. As you heard from the chief and from everyone else, there are multiple gunshots that have been fired over a long time period. To be able to account to which shot goes where and when is going to be a very, very long process, and something that we're working on now and will be continuing to do over several
So did he
days.
come out shooting, I guess is my question? Did he come out
Again,
shooting?
that's something that we're trying to put together right now. Multiple shots over a long period of time, trying to get to the right sequence and get through all of the information that we have is going to take time.
So he
Go ahead, in the back, sir.
The two officers that engaged with him were not hit?
There were, again, several officers that were outside, 2 officers who fired.
DA and the police, yeah.
That's correct, who fired at this point. Trying to figure out which shot is when is something that we're working on right now. No officers have been physically injured by today's actions.
You said, just
Go ahead, sir.
on the window. So Mr. Marshall either jumped through the window or broke the window and then jumped through.
We can say that the window was broken from the inside out. That's the best that I can get
What
there.
about you said you found 2 individuals deceased. How did they die?
That's something that we're working on right now. There's an individual that's called the Assistant Deputy Medical Examiner that responds in all matters like this. An initial examination will be made, and then most likely those people will be transported up to the medical examiner's office for a full autopsy to determine a cause and manner of death. That will probably, I'm sorry, if I could just please finish answering your question before I take your next question. It'll be roughly 24 to 48 hours for that process to take
Did
place.
they overdose? Can you confirm?
One at a time, please.
We won't know that until cause and manner is determined, and overdoses are typically not determined until after toxicology comes back. That's roughly 45 to 60 days for that process to take place. Hold on, he said a follow-up question.
I'm trying to stay on the same subject for a second. People said that they heard like bangs or loud noises. Did the police fire either flash bangs into that room or tear gas? And could that have been the cause of death at all?
At this point, we don't know. That's what I don't know, because I don't want to
How
speculate.
about the
That's the
first part of the
problem.
question, Dave? Did the police fire any sort of like I don't know what you call them, flash bangs or tear gas into the room?
I'm not at liberty to be able to talk about specific tactics or things that were done by the police department. I can say they were diligent in using every technique that was available to them in order to try to get this to end in a peaceful resolution today. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I'm sorry, this gentleman had his hand up first, and I'll get right back to you, sir. Go ahead.
Were the victims male or female, adult or children? And also, in the beginning, I think Gordon mentioned that you were looking for Steve Marshall and another male. Was that other male one of the 2 people who died?
The other male is one of the individuals that did pass away. The other one is an adult female. There were no children involved in this time. Go ahead,
Can
sir.
you describe how the hotel guests were evacuated from there? Is this right as or before the DEA and the Manchester officer approached? There were obviously quite a few people who were in at the headway.
I'm not clear enough on that process that was done, so unfortunately I can't answer your question because I don't have the information at this time. That's something that we will have information on later.
Was Stephen Marshall living in that hotel room, and were the other 2 people who were there living there, or were they just staying there for a few nights?
That's information, again, we don't have nailed down at this point. You have to understand also that that particular hotel, it's going to take days to go through the room, and also with the records that we'll have to look at. So I don't have the information to be able to answer that question right now.
Was this an ongoing drug investigation, and did you have information that Stephen Marshall would be there, and obviously that's why you went there?
I can say that officers responded because it was a warrant check at that particular location. With regards to the other parts of the investigation that are ongoing, and from where they started, that's something that we're putting together right now. You had your hand raised, sir, 1 and then 2.
An outstanding warrant for Stephen Marshall?
I'm sorry?
An outstanding warrant for Stephen Marshall?
That's correct, sir.
And for what?
I'm not able to discuss what the specifics were for that warrant.
And did you find anything in the hotel room beyond weapons, drugs? Can you say anything that you found in the room?
You're dealing with an area that we're talking is literally close to 20,000 square feet. It's going to take time for us to be able to work in and get into that room. So I don't have that answer yet. Yes, ma'am.
Could you just talk a little bit about whether or not you have a ballpark of how many rounds were fired at police? Was it happening, I know you said during the 9-hour period, but were they shooting out the window? Can you just get into any more details about what police were dealing with through the night?
I can tell you that they were dealing with multiple gunshots pretty much every hour for that 9-hour stretch. This was a long, ongoing pattern of behavior by the individual or individuals inside the room who were firing. Other than that, I don't have more specifics on what shot went where or when. Yes, sir.
Other than the 2, the police officer and the DEA agent who fired on Marshall, did any other police officers fire their weapons into this room at all during this 9-hour period?
Any and all discharges are being looked at, and that's typical protocol for us on every officer involved
So
shooting
there was
that we go
gunfire
to.
back and forth, there was an exchange of gunfire fired, is that accurate?
I can say that every exchange, if that occurred, is being looked at. That's correct.
But my question is, was there an exchange of gunfire between the officers and the two individuals in the room?
Exchange of gunfire between the officers and
Or
the two
were
individuals.
just those two individuals the only ones firing out?
I do not know if it's one or two individuals firing in the room. That's why I'm saying specifically it could be individual or individuals
Whoever was in the
firing
room,
out.
Were there gunshots only coming out of the room, or was there an exchange of gunfire between the police and the individual or individuals in the room?
I can tell you that there were exchanges, and we're looking at every single one of those. That's the best I can answer. I'll take two more questions, so go ahead, ma'am.
There was,
Maybe re-answer
our
this.
cameras captured officers recovering a gun at the scene. Would that have been the suspect's weapon?
I can't go into whose weapon that was at the time, as we do know that Mr. Marshall did have a silver handgun on him when he came out of the window. We'll be looking at every inch of the area to find out what weapons or ammunition were present and at what
And
time.
how did officers enter the room when they found them dead? How did they gain access to that room finally? How did they finally make that approach?
Again, I'm not going to go into the specific tactics that were used or the different tools that were available. The Nashua Police Department was able to do it later on in the day. Last question.
Chief Capano, or I'm not sure who might want to take this, but could you just speak to the work that the SWAT officers did? I mean, they were being fired upon every hour of the night, what that was like, and what it can be like emotionally for these officers.
Last question.
So, yes, as we said, there was a 9-hour period where there was numerous rounds fired at the officers. As far as what that's like, I guess it's not something that I can explain. I wasn't actually out there with that. I can tell you that just in general, through our training and throughout our careers, it's a lot of stress. Anytime we get officers get into any type of situation, let alone if somebody's actually shooting a gun at you or towards you, it's an extreme amount of stress. And we work with those officers, we debrief them, and we work with them to make sure that they're doing okay. And it's just an extremely stressful situation. That's really the best that I can explain it.
Question about the hotel. Can you say if the hotel is closed as a crime scene and will remain closed, or will it be open for business? And if so, do you know how long it will be open or closed?
I can answer that. It'll be several days. It may be more than a week with regards to that. Whether the time period for it being open again, right now we can't give you a good solid answer.
Can people tell us something more
Folks, we're going to take one more question, and that's it. One more question, right there.
Does Stephen Marshall have any kind of record that you can tell us about?
From our policy and protocol, we do not comment on any individual as to
You come up
whether
to
or
the
not.
microphone, please.
Sure. We don't comment on any individuals whether or not they do or do not have a criminal record, so that's not something I'm able to talk about at this point. The New Hampshire Rules of Professional Conduct for attorneys is fairly strict on that issue. So again, I'm not able to comment on any sort of criminal record that he did have or did not have.
So that doesn't count as a question because we didn't get it.
Thank you very much,
sorry.
folks. We greatly appreciate your time. We'll get back to you as soon as we have time available to answer more questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't
We're all
have
set.
more questions right now.